Hey y'all, it's Leah from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, and welcome back to Chick TV. I've turned off a couple of these heat lamps so that you can see the chicks a little bit better over here. It's really hard to see with that red light. Incidentally, I just discovered the other day that they make these infrared heat bulbs that don't emit any light, so I ordered a few of those. I'd like to try them soon. Be a nice option, A, to get rid of the red light, but also B, so that the chicks actually experience some darkness at night, which would probably be pretty good for them. In any case, today is day 4. These chicks are 4 days old today, and everybody's doing pretty good, healthy, happy. I did lose one more chick yesterday evening, so that was a little sad. I had noticed the day that they arrived, which was day 2, they were 2 days old, that I had one chick that was kind of listless and sleeping a lot all day, and I didn't see her eating, and I was concerned about her. And then everybody went to sleep that night, and everybody slept happily in the pile. And then the following day, day 3, I didn't see anybody being listless, so I figured, well, she just probably recovered from the stress of being in the mail and all of that. And but then last night, while I was tending to the chicks, I noticed her again sleeping and being rather listless, and then she passed. So that was a little sad, but it does happen, as I said before. In any case, there's, I don't know, 52, 53 birds in here. There's another about almost 20 birds that our friends took over to their brooder. And out of that, losing 4 birds is not so terrible at all. In any case, so I just got done tending to the brooder and the birds themselves. And so what I did was a few things. One, I changed this whole layer of paper towels. And the way I do that with chicks in here, hang on, let me turn these heat lamps back on. Well, actually, everybody's pretty comfortable, so I'll leave them off for the time being. So the way I deal with that, with all these chicks in here, is I just use this piece of plastic, I guess this is polypropylene, and it just happens to fit the width of my tank. And so I just put it in here and I make a divider. I put this down in the middle. It just kind of happens to be the right size that it holds tension, and so I kind of shoo everybody over to one side. I put the divider in the middle, and then I take the paper towels out of the side that is empty, put down new paper towels, disinfect the drinkers. I try to do that every day, or at least every other day, or at least, if I don't do the whole drinker that day, I at least do the tray. But yeah, definitely every day, every other day. Disinfect those. I use a bottle brush with soap, a designated bottle brush, because I don't really want to use that one on my drinking vessels. And then I'll disinfect with a little bit of bleach, or you can also use 100% distilled white vinegar, which is cheap and readily available and totally non-toxic, and it's a nice option. So yeah, I do that. I take the drinkers out, change out the towels, and then before I work on the other side, I address a couple of things with the chicks. So in the first week, maybe 2, there's a condition that sometimes happens with chicks called pasting. Basically what it is their poop is like, it's like sticky, and it sometimes sticks to their little butthole, more appropriately called the cloaca. And it can plug up the cloaca, and then they can't poop. So that obviously is a problem. And I'm not sure that anybody knows exactly what causes that. It may be the stress of being born. It may be the stress of being sent in the mail. It can be due to getting chilled, maybe even getting too hot, or switching food. Now, I don't think that these birds had any actual food until they got here. So it wasn't the food. It's probably just a function of stress and being chilled in the mail and all of that. In any case, what that means is every single bird I pick up and I check their butts for poop sticking to their butts. And then if there is any, I use a little warm water, like on a paper towel, or you can even run them under the sink, just their butt under the sink with a little warm water to soften up the poop to get it off. Because it's a little hard to get it off because it gets stuck in the down, and you don't want to rip that off because that would really hurt. So while I'm in here, and while I have each bird in hand checking for pasting, I also check everybody's navels. Because on occasion you will find a bird with an infected navel, which is usually the result of an infection in the egg itself. Last time we ordered a big group of birds, I did have a small handful with infected navels. And I did lose a couple of birds because of that. And the way to handle it is actually to just, check everybody's navels, and then if you find somebody with what looks like an infected navel, which is just going to look like, an angry bump on their bellies, an angry-looking bump, like any other infection that you might find on your own body. If that does come up, then I just put a little bit of iodine on it. So I keep my iodine handy. I actually have just been using a little squirt bottle. You could also, because this doesn't really spray, it just comes out in a drop. You could also just use a Q-tip or something like that. In this group, I've only seen 2 questionable navels, and it's not even clear to me that they were even infected. It may have just been a bit of umbilical cord that hadn't fallen off yet. But just to be on the safe side, I just put a little iodine on there and done. So I do this every day in the first week, maybe 2, depending on if the pasting persists. I've only had a small handful of birds in this group that have shown any signs of pasting, so that's really nice. I mean, I still have to check everybody. But in any case, I do this while I still have the divider in place. Hang on a second here. Let me turn these heat lamps back on again, because the temperature is getting a little lower than I would like in here. Although, honestly, everybody looks pretty okay right now. Pretty happy. There you go, guys. So I do this while I have the divider in place in the middle. So I just take each bird one at a time and put them on the other side of the divider when I'm done. And I noticed that when I pick up the birds to do this, everybody freaks out a little bit, but if I rub the back of the chick's head a smidge, that really calms them down. Maybe not permanently, but I try to make it as quick as possible and as gentle as possible, and get done with it pretty quickly. And it's fun too, like if they're older and they're capable of flying. I remember with our last group of birds that I had this experience where I'd put the divider in the middle, and there would be one little chick that wanted to be on the other side with his buddies, and he or she would fly over to the other side of the brooder, which is always fun. So I always check for pasting butts. I check for infected navels. I disinfect the drinkers. I change the paper towels when I'm done with everybody and everybody's on the other side of the brooder. Then I change the paper towels on the other side. Do the drinkers. I do the feeders too if they were relatively empty or if they had a lot of poop in them, but neither has been the case yet. And I will do that, in the next couple of days, just to be on the safe side. Chickens, chicks in particular, are prone to a few things that you want to watch out for. You have the option when you buy chicks from a hatchery to have them vaccinated for coccidiosis, which is a protozoa, and Merrick's disease. There are other vaccines that are available for chickens as well, but not until they're a little older. I don't do either of those. I don't do any vaccines at all. Coccidiosis is going to be, they're going to be exposed to it regardless, and they will gain immunity just by being in the brooder. The trick is to just not let things get out of hand and, make sure things are relatively clean. So that's why I'm changing these paper towels every day, because, at the end of the day, they get pretty nasty. Because if they get exposed too quickly to coccidiosis, that's when they tend to get sick. So, chickens carry this, and, you just expect that that's part of the package. Now, if you there's other ways of dealing with this as well. I prefer to just let my birds develop natural immunity. You could also, as an alternative to a vaccine, you can feed them medicated feed. I also don't do that. The medicated feed contains a coccidiostat. However, if you had vaccinated your birds, you cannot feed them medicated feed because it will just neutralize the vaccine. Marek's disease is a virus, and it causes, one of the things it causes is leg paralysis and sometimes some weird like some contortions and muscle contortions and sometimes death. I have never seen Marek's disease, any indication of Marek's disease in our flocks, so I'm pretty unconcerned about it. I sort of feel like Marek's disease is more, I'm not an expert, so, you know, take this with a grain of salt, but I think it's potentially more of an issue if you were raising both turkeys and chickens, partially because turkeys can carry Marek's, but I don't think that they get sick from it, but it can sort of put your chickens at risk. I don't like the idea of the Marek's vaccine because it's funny, I was thinking about this before, and it kind of reminds me of another vaccine that we all know about. It does not prevent your chickens from getting Marek's, and it does not prevent them from shedding the virus. It does prevent them supposedly from getting paralysis. So that's the benefit of the vaccine. But if you vaccinate your birds for Marek's disease, well, now you actually have the virus in your flock. So I choose not to do that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. If I had an outbreak of Marek's disease, it would really suck, but I would deal with that as it came up. Another thing I like to do that I haven't really done yet, and I'm going to wait probably another week, is I like to take a little bit of soil from the ranch and put it in here with the chicks, because this gives them an opportunity to gain some immunity from whatever other germs might be in the soil that they're going to be exposed to. And I will also take just like a smidge of the litter from the chicken house that they're going to be living in, because that will also expose them just a little bit and give them a chance to gain a little immunity to those other things that they're going to be encountering later. Let's see, what else? Oh, one thing that is very important, especially when your chicks first arrive, I have one drinker here that is just plain water, and I have another one, you can't really see it in the red light, it's a slightly different color, that has electrolytes in it. You can usually get from your farm store these little electrolyte packets that are specifically made for chicks. It'd be nice if the camera would focus. There we go. I do not like the fact that this contains some food coloring, yellow number 6 and red number 40. I would love to find a chick electrolyte that did not contain that. I mean, it's a little handy to have the coloring in there because you can see where you've put electrolytes in and where you haven't. But this is especially important right when they arrive, because they have just been through hell being in the mail, and it kind of sucks for them. So that really seems to go a long way in terms of revitalizing them. So there's a bunch of vitamins and sodium and potassium and things that they need in the right proportion for chicks. I wouldn't use an electrolyte that's designed for other animals or humans, because that's not necessarily the right ratio. Of course, you could compare and contrast and see if it matches the chick electrolyte, and that would be an option. It's really fun to watch. I'd forgotten how much fun it is to watch chicks develop and start implementing some of the behaviors that they'll have as adults. Like I noticed yesterday 2 chicks that like chest bumped each other, which is something that they usually don't do until much later, and they're being a little aggressive and kind of being a little combative with each other. So it's kind of fun to watch that sort of stuff. And of course, oh, I'm going to turn the light off for one more second because I want to show you everybody's wing feathers, and it's a little easier to see if I turn this off. So everybody has wing feathers, they're growing so rapidly, which I find amazing because feathers require a lot of protein to grow. I have this one little Rhode Island red over here. Oh, see if I can get a good image of her. Who's got her tail feathers coming in. Oop, there she is. Little tail feathers peeking out. All those pretty little wings. This little bird over here is so pretty. This is a Brahma. She's a dark Brahma, but she's very light looking, so it'll be interesting to see what she looks like as an adult. She looks like she has a little Egyptian necklace on her head, which unfortunately you can't see right now because she's... Oh, there it is. That little headdress that she has on. It's very pretty. Everybody's stretching their legs. It's so much fun to watch them develop and practice pecking at everything. When I put the divider in, you know, there's some print on one side, and they just peck away at all the little dots on there. It's like they're practicing their eye to beak coordination, because that's very important for a chicken. Pecking is probably the most important thing that they do, which I'm going to talk about in a future video. Because I was thinking about a question that someone asked in a comment below the previous video, and I'll devote a video to talking about stress in chickens and some of the sometimes awful results that can occur with that, and ways to avoid it. In any case, pretty good. Everybody's pretty good for 4 days old. Pretty happy. And growing up fast. Alright, take care everybody. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up. Take care.